Adam Reed, Director of Marketing with Versatile, joins us here on Real Agriculture. We're at Ag in Motion, and Adam, I'm not sure I've seen many people walk by without stopping to take a picture, even a family picture with the tractor behind you in the shot. This is a special tractor getting lots of attention here at Ag in Motion.
Very much a throwback, yeah. It's Big Roy. It's the Versatile 1080. It was first built in 1977. It was right in the midst of the big horsepower race of late 70s. And at the time, it was huge. I mean, it's 600 horsepower, so even by today's standard, that's pretty big. It was a lot of the components came from Winnipeg. It was shipped down to Fargo, where they assembled it, and realized as soon as they got it into the field, it's got lots of power, but it creates some compaction issues with the 4 wheels in a row, and doesn't turn very well. It takes a lot to turn this tractor around. It certainly doesn't turn on a dime. So there's a couple of reasons it never made it into production. It had lots of power. At the time, they actually had to build a new disc. They commissioned a company in Saskatchewan to build a disc that was big enough to challenge it, because none of the implements that were on sale at the time were capable of challenging it. But they realized that it really wasn't a mass producible tractor. And it's been sitting at the Manitoba Agriculture Museum in Austin, Manitoba since the 80s sometime. And for the 50th anniversary of Versatile, we contacted the board. They needed a new coat of paint for the tractor. And essentially over the course of a month or two, we talked and ended up bringing Big Roy back to Winnipeg, did a complete frame-up restoration. It was supposed to be a quick coat of paint that turned into much, much more. The engine was removed, the cab was removed. So what we've got going on now, it's got new tires, new paint, a completely redone cab interior, new hydraulic hoses, new shifter, pretty much anything that we could keep from the original we did, except for things like hydraulic hoses that we could update, and it just made for a whole new tractor. It's probably in better shape than it was when it was built in 77, yeah.
So looking back, do you think the company learned a lesson from building it, or that something came out of building it?
Well, I don't know if anybody ever really learns a lesson on things like that, but what I will tell you is that they had planned to build a second one. So they had all the parts done for a second one in Winnipeg, sent it down to Fargo for final assembly. It got there. By then they'd realized that this was just not a marketable tractor, so they spun that semi around, sent it back to Winnipeg, and all those parts were destroyed. So there is only one Big Roy. It's one of one. So yeah, we're really happy that we've been able to work with the museum to bring it back. And like you say, I mean, it's been around for a long time. It's built in 1977. A lot of people remember seeing it for the first time in the show in Regina back in the early 80s, or it kind of toured around for a couple of years there. So a lot of people have memories of being a lot younger than they are today and seeing that tractor for this first time and just being wowed by the sheer size of it.
So where's it going from here? What's the plan?
Well, we're going to take it for on a few more shows this summer, down to Iowa at the show at Big Iron in Fargo. So there'll be a chance for customers around the continent to see it. And then after that, it's going to end up back at the Ag Museum in Austin, Manitoba. They're planning to put up a more permanent exhibit for it, especially with the investment that Versatile's made. They wanted to have something that's a little more weatherproof than just a lean-to shed where it was before. So we're pretty excited to partner with the museum on whatever happens next with Big Roy. So yeah, and I mean, even from just a branding perspective, a lot of people around the world, if you mention Versatile to them, and they may have a very vague association with the company as it is today, but if you show them a picture of Big Roy, they all immediately know that's a Versatile tractor that was built in Canada. So whether you're talking to someone from Australia or someone from Europe, we actually have had people travel to the plant in Winnipeg and then take the extra half day to go to Austin just because they wanted to say they saw Big Roy. Okay. So it's really exciting.
Cool. And of course, this is all part of the anniversary celebrations, as you mentioned. This is the 50th year for Versatile.
Yeah, 50 years of continuous four-wheel drive production at the same facility. So it's a pretty big milestone. We did a few things for it. About halfway through the year, we did a run of 50 of the legendary limited edition, the historic paint color. And of course, those all sold. A couple of weeks ago, we had a big event for the customers. They all came and picked up their tractors. And it was a really cool event. As far as any of us know, it's one of the first times, or maybe the only time it's ever happened, where we actually took all 50 of those tractors out to our test site, lined them all up. We had about $25 million in iron and about 25,000 horsepower that we moved down the road just to have them all on display for the customers that were there. It was great. A lot of those customers have had Versatile for a lot of years. We had a couple of customers that have been away from Versatile, but they saw that paint, that red, yellow, and black, and they just had to have it. And so it was basically a great day of swapping stories and some war stories, some fun stories. And yeah, of course, we unveiled Big Roy at that time too, so it was really exciting. And then what's next, I guess, is we're giving away the 1966, so we're calling it the Versatile C10, but it's a 1966 Chevy. Probably more hot rod than farm truck, but I don't think anyone's going to complain. So it's toured around with us this year too, and then in November we're going to have 10 finalists come to the dealer meeting in Winnipeg, and they're going to be the ones to turn the key, and someone's going to win that truck. So yeah, we've still got a few more tricks up our sleeves before the end of the year, but overall I'd say it's gone very well. A lot of customers are really happy to see red and yellow and black back on Versatiles, even if it is only for the 50th anniversary.
So what do you think it is? We've talked about this inside our own office. What is it that drives the loyalty to those colors and to Versatile?
You know what? I mean, there was a time where almost every farm in Western Canada and the northern US had a Versatile. And if you didn't have a Versatile, your neighbor had a Versatile. So the country was covered in red, yellow, and black Versatiles. And then, of course, in 1986, the Versatiles out of Winnipeg were painted blue for 15 years, then they've kind of been red and cream. And, you know, for this year, bringing back that red and yellow and black really created an emotional tie to a lot of people remembering the days where Versatile was on every second farm. And that's just brought back a lot of those memories. And to be quite honest, the tractors are still built on the same assembly line, they're still built in the same factory, and they're still essentially built the same way they were back then. Everything's gotten bigger, of course, but you've still got the outboard planetary systems. We still use Cummins engines. So once a lot of guys started looking at that and doing a little bit more research on who we are today, they realized there's not that much different than the 936 that they used to drive when they were growing up on their farm or running their grandpa's tractor.
Is the seat still as bumpy?
We have air ride seat. In fact, we now have air conditioned and heated seats. So certainly a long way from where they were back then. And
we joke that sometimes maybe it's the hardship of having to sat on that seat for so many hours that develop some loyalty.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, that was one of the jokes. There was one of the farmers that was at the event a couple of weeks ago that still has, I think it was an 800, he said, and his son was with him, and his son was so looking forward to never driving that tractor again. So yeah, I mean, they've come a long way, but essentially it's still kind of the same basic tractor that a lot of the customers remember. So, and you know, I mean, there's thousands of studies done about what fosters brand loyalty and that kind of thing, but I mean, for us, even myself, the first time I saw one of the limited edition tractors, I just saw the rim of the back of the tractor, the yellow rim with the red planetary, and I mean, the farm kid in me just knew immediately that was a Versatile. And now after staring at the red and yellow and black Versatiles all year, it's going to take some getting used to going back to the red and cream, but we'll see what happens.
That's the plan?
We'll see what happens.
All right. Thanks for your time, Adam.
Thanks, Calvin.